Left this for me. Okay. That was lovely. Thank you. And Howard and Margaret, I have loved coming here for readings. It's always light and bright and the most comfortable seats in the world. So sit back. I was going to do a theme, and then since I couldn't think of a theme, I just made a collection of some of my favorite poems. This first one came about when I played pickup sticks with a friend's 5-year-old daughter. Along the same lines. Step on a crack, break your mother's back, from an old children's game. We took the superstition seriously, walked with friends down Burlingame Street, skipped over lines. At school, we lined up for lunch, water fountain, pencil sharpener. We scurried to be head of the line. Am I doing this right?
Perfect.
Oh, okay.
Is that too high for you?
Nah.
All right.
Gym lines were a challenge. Relays to run, bars to jump, ropes to climb, lines of scrimmage, finishing lines. We wrote on lined paper, discussed storylines, studied plus and minus signs. We sat in desks all aligned, stayed within margins as we underlined, outlined, colored within or outside the lines. Bad grades meant borderline. Teachers took a tough line. Times change. We no longer use clotheslines, talk on party lines, or wear hosiery, the seamed kind. Now we have wrinkle lines, laugh lines, crow's feet, mouths set in angry lines. We line up for movies, park cars within parallel lines, jog the path, run the track, line our pockets, question a person's line of work, their bloodlines. We fight wars on front lines, hold defense lines. Remember the Maginot Line. When drowning, we grab lifelines, consider span of lives, scribble verse in lines. We blur lines between news and entertainment, depend on cable lines. Organizations expect us to follow rules, behave accordingly, fall into line. The internet gives us invisible worldwide wireless lines. We live our lives, and when times get hard, we lay it all out on the line. I think most people who write somewhere along the way took a workshop in dreams. I have, it didn't do any good. But what I learned from it was, if I turn to my husband and say, listen to what I dreamed, it could stay with me all day. If I don't, it's gone. And this poem is called, She Woke to the Sound of Her Own Laughter. She woke to the sound of her own laughter. And in that moment, if she had woken him to speak of her dream, she could have carried the vision all day. The train to Istanbul, the dining car, polished wood, starched linen, heft of crystal, the sleek Gatsby dress on her back, chocolate silk, onyx beading. If she had carried the dream all day, she could have tried on different beginnings, endings, the Turkish Sultan, the charade, murder, double deal trickery, perhaps an escape through the old walled city, uncertainty that made the danger so thrilling. She could have lived a fable or an epic poem. But as she lay there with laughter on her lips, She nodded off, and on wakening, the dream was gone, her mouth dry. Angle of moonlight, parted curtains. Well, my husband and I have just celebrated an anniversary, and we went to Sabai, had a nice dinner, and it got me thinking of marriages. And so this next poem is of another time. I wasn't there, but I knew the porch, and I'm sure I got it right. They drift to the porch after dinner, the still of evening heavy with scent from hollyhock and moonflowers. They seek a flutter of cool after a day dense with heat. He, tie off, white shirt sleeves rolled. She, in a flowered house dress, slide into warm metal chairs, the day's free press between them. She picks up the home section, tears out recipes, breaks their silence to share a loud Dear Jane Lee. Next door's radio intrudes. Amos and Andy spill out from the Hackelman's open window. Shrill sounds of a streetcar slice the hush. She places her hand on his arm. He folds back the front page, comments on President Truman, offers opinion on Korea, the Rosenberg trial, takes both sides of the problems at Henry Ford's River Rouge plant. Twilight fades. He fills his pipe, loosely packing his favorite Dunhill London. She rises, steps inside to check on children sleeping. When she returns, streetlights are on. Stars emerge, the moon a slender arc. They welcome night's darkness, hear the trill of crickets, watch fireflies flit beyond the hedgerow. No one sees their hands laced, fingers braided, or the kiss he plants on her palm. Of course, there's other marriages. Plumage. When company visits, he has a dozen long-stemmed red roses delivered from the most expensive florist in town. As a newlywed, she'd gather them close, inhale their bouquet, bring out her Waterford, select the most conspicuous spot in the room to show off his ardor. Years later, she calls to their housekeeper. Answer the door, do something with them. Iridescence. A peacock's fan dulls. And then lightening up, the third and final marriage. Perspective. Come here, he cries from the living room. Hurry! She hears the urgency, abandons her hot tea and hastens down the hall. Hurry! She imagines a heart attack, stroke, broken arm. The television set to his favorite auto auction. Look, he declares with longing, as a silvery blue convertible advances along a red carpet. A 1939 Hudson, he exclaims. Only 3 ever existed, and this is the last survivor. She lingers, drawn to the boy in him. Oh, this next poem, it certainly is just something I overheard, and it became mine. A redhead. When they talk of their high school days, I hear them speak of Rochelle, the classmate they all fancied, Her hair a shade that wasn't carroty, but more auburn or russet. Her long tresses cascaded in great waves like the ocean sweeping to shore on the heels of a winter storm, drifting over the smooth pale of her cheeks as wispy strands catch the sunlight entering study hall windows. We meet at a 50th high school reunion. Her thinning silver hair is cropped short. She tells me, with retirement upon her, she has a hunger to learn Italian. We speak of rereading favorite classics. We call out Jane Austen in unison. She asks, during a lull in our conversation, if my dark brown hair is custom blended in a salon. Well, okay, I don't know who they are, but they say eyewitnesses are worthless. A car wreck or bank robbery or a murder. No two people see the same thing. What the eye beholds. This is an expensive rest stop, he declares earnestly as he veers off I-5 and zips into the exit lane. Proceeds past a tractor trailer with Idaho plates, a fifth wheel from Montana, pulls into the last spot in the crowded lot. One rest stop for both north and south traffic, he says. That's a lot of road work, a lot of asphalt, and a clover leaf to boot. Yep, it's the bridge that's pricey. 2 rest stops would have been cheaper, 1 on each side. Easy on, easy off. I look up from my book, amazed again at how different we are. Look past him at the cottonwoods, their days of leafing out paint awash. Tiny leaves, lime green, like baby's breath. Across the road, beyond the fast-moving river, flowering plums nod and blush, smartly dressed in purple blossoms. And on the windshield, a mayfly alights. My friend Linda over here, we've been friends for years, and she remembers the 6 years that Mother was in Eugene with us. And this is a conversation I had with Mom. She was always open-minded, unbound. On Mother's 90th birthday, I suggest she do away with a lifetime of support undergarments. Straps that pinch, rub, hinder, leave painful grooves on shoulder, waist, and thigh. I encourage her to get rid of bras, girdles, garter belts, hose, shed all metal and underwire. I reason that at a certain age, it's time to give up cramped and constricted. She no longer needs to fasten, snap, squeeze, jam, push up. No button short of the hole. No hook to catch or snag. Oh my, she replies, and with an open mind shrugs away a lifetime of tight and dense for soft, breathable, pure Pima cotton undershirts, downy anklets, silky undies, leaving her supple, unbound, free. So, a lot of people say to me, well, when I lived in Anchorage for 20 years, people would say, how do you stand the cold and the snow? And I loved it. And now that I'm here, so many people say, who don't live here, how can you stand the rain? And I like one season to hibernate. So I read, I write, I make pots and pots of soup. And then the primroses are out. Deluge. Not small trickles of drops, slow and continuous, the kind of rainfall Oregonians barely notice jumping over pools on our walk to school or work. Today's air feels weighty, as if clouds can't hold one additional drop, and lets loose with icy rain. A downpour that pierces city streets, gurgles down storm drains, pockmarks puddles, lacerates gardens into gaping paths. Facing drought, I appealed to the rain gods for a drenching to fill reservoirs, lakes, pack mountains with snow, nourish soil, clear the air. Let brooks and streams sing. Let yellow-rumped warblers shelter in foliage. Squirrels and mice lie low in log holes, beneath rocks, underground. Let rabbits proceed to their warrens. The rainstorm brings me inside to unwind, reflect, bring me calm. I scan the darkened sky, attentive to the melody as water peppers roof and window pane. Envision grass greening. I don't write many nature poems. Oh, okay. Years ago, I was at Fish Trap, and I worked with Peter Sears for a week. And this poem came out of that week. And what I love about it is Peter burst out laughing, and he said he loved it. And so I love it. It's about retirement. Adjustment. He opens all letters addressed to her. He was once in charge at work. Itemizes their checkbook, cleans out hall closets, thins her collection of out-of-print books. She hides her lined journal in the kitchen near the back door on the bottom shelf behind the green bowl. Talks on the cell phone in the dim of the garage. But things are getting better, she says. We're working on it. She roams neighborhood malls on long afternoons, filling her days alone. While he signs up for classes for both of them, subjects he's eager to take for himself, joins organized tours with busloads of strangers, alphabetically lines up their cupboard of canned goods, rearranges porch furniture, pulls up old roses. But things are getting better, she says. We're working on it. This came from overhearing something. Be careful what you say in front of me. The last time I was in Detroit, I visited my parents' graves. Visit. Red maple leaves fall on your graves. Reaching into my pocket, I leave 2 small stones from my garden to let you know I've been here. Final note. All the questions I never asked. Okay, I visited a friend out of state, and while I was there, she invited a friend over, and the friend was in a wheelchair and had some obvious problems, a lot of them. And she told the story of when she was downtown in this little town, a stranger came up to her and said, "You should just shoot yourself." And after the shock of the rudeness, I thought, a woman wouldn't do it that way. A woman wouldn't do it that way. A man would use a .45, splatter blood on walls, carpets, leave smears and splotches for someone else to clean up. A woman would seldom leave disorder. She might shower first, slip on a fresh nightgown, Swallow pills with something sweet to mask the taste. Brush your teeth. Slide between fresh-smelling sheets, letting the lightness of down shepherd her into oblivion. Or she might bundle up on a cold, snowy night, head to the river, to a spot where the ice is thin and brittle, where dark waters entice. Tread carefully until she launches herself, softening the heartache for those left behind, to speak softly of such a tragic accident. My dad was a watchmaker. I wrote this thinking of him. Timekeeper. I have a collection of vintage wristwatches, meshed gears and springs, emblems of art and science. Few masters remain to repair these timepieces, fingers to probe the movement, peer through a loop. Only a handful of experts left with that light touch. I wore my red oval Whitnar during high school. My Gruen Marcasite, a graduation gift. My treasured rhinestone-studded Elgin with its slim black leather band was on my wrist the night Ringo shook my hand. I have my father's gold-plated Longines pocket watch given to him by his father, and the well-worn railroad watch belonging to my husband's great-great-uncle, still meeting precise accuracy standards. Even battery-operated throwaway timepieces have become obsolete since the spread of the cell phone. These newest wireless devices connecting the world without changing the fact that time continues to move forward like a river, never back. And I have 2 poems left. This one is going to be published soon in an anthology titled Recreating Our Common, can't read my own writing, common chord. Sometimes in life you get it right. What comes around. After the clerk completes my purchase, he pauses. I know you. You used to come to the substance abuse car wash when it was on West Elm Street. Your donations paid for candy and movies. I want you to know I'm clean 7 years. The judge was tough. It wasn't easy. My wife stood by me. I'm back with my kids. I have 2 beautiful daughters and a 3-month-old son. Life is pretty darn good. I've been here 5 years, just made manager. The following Saturday, I'm at the new substance abuse car wash across from Greenwood Mall, scrutinizing my red Jeep Grand Cherokee being hand-washed and showered. Overhearing 3 young men with hoses and sponges chatter about the spankings and punishments they received as children. They're laughing, cracking up. Nice car, one man shouts to me. Looks new. 11 years old, I call back. He nods. That's what you get when you take care of business. And I'm going to end with, from my bio, I've taught all over the world and lived 20 years in Alaska, and now I'm in Eugene. But it doesn't matter. I'm still that Midwestern girl. And this is called Midwest Genesis. Midwesterners choosing to move to the Northwest seldom go home. They fly east for weddings, funerals, show their children the old high school track field, and where an early Dairy Queen sat on Main Street. They brag about manageable seasons, lack of heat and humidity, absence of snow. They bike to work, become vegan, drink herbal tea, take up running, give up God for nature, assume everyone is like-minded. But in that uneasy sleep, just before waking, they dream of golden wheat swaying in the wind, sunflower fields as far as the eye can see, hot summer sun on their necks. Hear their father ask, "How can you live where they don't grow corn?" Thank you.